Get ready for big mouths, drag screaming strikes, and Florida's favorite freshwater challenge.
From Lake Okeechobee to the Everglades and up through North Florida rivers, lakes, and ponds, these fish are biting all over the state. We're talking bass on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
You're watching the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and we're back with our last live studio audience of the season, which must mean fall is approaching, and with that, a killer bass bite being reported all across our regions. Right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Bree. And you know, the one thing that I love every year when we do this is all of our captains, they give us the most accurate report on how you can bass fish, whether it's a golf course, whether it's a local lake, or even maybe some pond in somebody's private backyard. It's so neat to hear the differences from the 9 different captains.
Exactly. Well, I'm ready for some big bass, big fish stories, and a lot of fun with the crowd. But before we say hi to our first captain, I see Dave Farrell has quite the special guest joining him over at the CCA workbench today. Dave.
Yes, we have Bobby Lane.
Bobby Lane!
Yeah, he's an MLF pro, Major League Fishing pro, which is an amazing thing. And he's the 2022 Red Crest champion. And he's from Lakeland, Florida. So,
man, it's nice to be here in the hometown. Thanks for the introduction. Rick and Bree, thank you guys. Looking forward to diving in on this Florida bass fishing right here in my home state.
Oh, we can't wait for that. All right, we're starting off in the Phillips Southwest region where bass are everywhere. So let's find out where the cast begins and the catch ends with Captain Ronnie Houston. Go for it, Ronnie.
Well, like always, guys, it's a pleasure representing the Southwest region, the Phillips Southwest region. But I know you guys don't know. You guys know what Bobby Lane's nickname is? That's Mr. Cashing Checks. Every time I turn around, that guy's cashing a check. But anyways, they can be caught throughout the whole region, largemouth bass as well as peacock bass. Now, the locations are going to vary anywhere from Collier County line, along I-75 and US 41, all into Naples, Fort Myers, and all the way to Punta Gorda. Now, it's going to be simple. Your residential canals, lakes, and golf courses, just about anywhere there's really some fresh water. This is also going to include the Peace and Caloosahatchee River. And a lot of these fish can simply be caught by just walking the banks. Probably the easiest way to catch these fish would be the live shiners. But when it comes to artificials, soft plastics like the Bass Assassin Bang Bug, that can be used pitching. It's a 3.5-inch bait. It can be used as a trailer on a chatterbait or a swim jig. Or you can simply use a Bass Assassin RSB worm. If there's vegetation along the banks or canals, popping frogs are going to work, especially along the vegetation. Just walk the canal and cast the popping frog parallel. But when it comes to hard baits, I truly like the Berkeley hard baits. One of my favorites is going to be the Berkeley Drift Walker, or you can use the J Walkers downsized into the 100. If you're going to go mid-column, you might want to stick with the Berkeley Stunners and Jukes. And I got a picture this week of some fish that were caught by Justin Mahone while fishing the freshwater area up in the Caloosahatchee River.
Nice. What else you got this week for us, Ronnie?
Inshore, the redfish. With all the rain we've been getting, the water's been changing colors. The Pine Island Sound area, your west and east wall up in the harbor, or simply the Matlacha area. But you want to concentrate on trying to catch these fish in the mid to high tides along mangrove shorelines. And it's going to be particularly before that water floods. Now, bite can be tough if it floods, but if you can get there before the water gets too high, that's probably going to be your best bet. Baits like the live pilchards and live pinfish. If it's kind of hot out, cut mullet or ladyfish up under the bushes on a knocker rig. Now, in your lower stages, you want to concentrate on looking for the troughs and potholes out in front of those mangrove shorelines before the water gets too high. And fish can be caught on baits like bouncing potholes with the Berkeley Gulp shrimp, those in the troughs. While it's still low, there's not a lot of grass, quarter-ounce gold spoons, or downsizing right now to the Berkeley J Walker 100. And I got a nice picture this week of a couple redfish that were caught while fishing with Danny Latham up to the north. The offshore side, permit. Now, there's still plenty of opportunity through the region, fishing a variety of wrecks and artificial reefs. And, some can be as close as 5 to 7 miles and out to 30 miles, depending upon the weather. You can use a couple different methods. You can use the run and gun method or simply anchoring up But, with all the different trolling motors on the market today, getting in an anchor mode on your trolling motor, sitting on top of the structure, maybe looking for a school of fish to pop up. If that doesn't work, you can simply drift with the window across your back along the areas. But looking for schools on top. If you don't see them on top, concentrating getting to the mid-water column, just simply freelining live crabs or using a lightweight to get down to the mid-water column. And still catching good permits is West Padel out of Naples, so that bite is still pretty good until we start getting some cooler weather. Last species is going to be the groupers. There's going to be a variety of groupers. You got the reds, you got the gags, and you got the scamps. Best bet's the 190 to 230. That seems to be a little bit better for your keeper-sized fish. When you hook up, chances are that fish is going in the box. Catching a lot more, but hoping to get a few keepers, but a lot of smaller fish. Your 80 to 120 has a variety of sizes, but has opportunity. Now, the weight you're going to be using, depending upon the depth and the current, is going to be anywhere from 6 to 10 ounces. Guys have been telling me lighter leaders been getting a better bite, so you can go as low as 40, but you be ready for the bite, but up to 80. Baits have been using is live pinfish, herring, and cut squid, as long as herring and sardines. And I got a picture this week of a nice gag that was just caught a couple days before the gag season opened. It was the short season, so there's opportunity out there in that range to catch a variety of groupers.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Phillips Southwest region. Ronnie says that inshore tarpon nighttime bite along most of the bridge spans through the entire region using live ladyfish, mullet, pinfish, and 5 to 8 inch swim baits. And then offshore, red snapper, 180 to 220 feet of water throughout the region using live pinfish and cub baits.
All right, speaking of Ronnie, if you want all of the artificial tips and tricks, join Captain Rick Murphy and Captain Ron Houston for the Berkeley Artificial Lure Seminar at Sunshine Ace Hardware in Bonita Springs, September 25th from 5:30 to 8. Probably lots of fish stories. Are you going to have some giveaways?
We're going to have tons of giveaways.
Fun.
You got to show up, guys. There's going to be a giveaway, so much stuff. It's going to be mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing Berkeley giveaways. All right, from the Everglades to the urban canals, let's get caught up in the Casa Vieja Lodge, Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas. Hi, Jimbo.
Hey, Bree, Rick, and Dave, everybody else in the studio. Yep, in the Southeast region, largemouth bass, they can be found anywhere there's fresh water. And one of the great things about bass fishing is you don't need a boat, and in most areas, the wind and the weather is not as much of a factor as in the offshore fishing. Now, the Everglades has some great bass fishing, especially when those water levels are low, concentrating the fish in the deeper holes, and catches of 50 more fish a day are not uncommon. And then when the water levels get high, those fish will move up onto the flats, getting a little more dispersed and spread out, but the fishing can still be really good. Also, the urban canals and lakes of the region offer some great bass fishing for largemouth as well as peacock, and they're not affected by the water levels near as much. Now, the largemouth bass bite is best early in the morning and then later in the day and into the evening when the water temperatures are not as warm. And some of the best baits are live shiners, bass assassin, artificial worms, rigged Texas style, surface lures, crankbaits, and spinner baits. But there are a million bass baits out there, and so those are just a few of the more popular ones. Got a photo here. This is Dakey Virgil with a fat Everglades bass that he caught when the water levels were a little bit lower.
Nice.
Now, moving offshore, we're still finding dolphin on a fairly regular basis, anywhere from 5 to 20 miles offshore, and anything floating's been holding schoolies. Wait, hold on. I forgot about our snook. I went right there. Right now,
yeah,
we're going back to snook. There's a lot of bait coming through, and we're catching a lot of snook. The inlets are holding good amount of snook, but the problem is that a lot of those snook are oversized, but that's a good problem to have. Live baits drifted near the bottom on a Jupiter rig has been working best. Whatever bait is most abundant in your area is going to work. Mullet, pinfish, croakers, herrings, pilchards, some of the more popular baits. If you don't have any live bait around, you can try bouncing 3/8 to 1 ounce jigs, flare hawk jigs, regular jigs, and jerk baits along the bottom. And the trick is to stay near the bottom. You might lose a jig or two, but that's what it's going to take to get the bites. the last of the incoming tide and an hour or two after the start of the outgoing is going to be the best time to fish for these inlet snook. And also the mouths of the open spillways are also producing some big snook. Got another photo here. This is William Flynn with a high slot Biscayne bass snook.
Nice.
So now moving offshore, we're still finding dolphin on a regular basis, anywhere from 5 to 20 miles offshore. Anything floating has been holding schoolies in the 5 to 10 pound range. Birds have been working over a lot of the fish and the floaters, pointing them out for us. So catching the fish is the easy part. Finding them has been the hard part. Trolling rig ballyhoo, small lures and feathers has been working, and once you locate the fish, you can cast small live baits or cut bait to those on spinning rods. And if you do find something good floating, there's also been wahoos hanging under most of those. And then there's been some kingfish showing up after being almost non-existent most of the summer. The bulk of these kings are being caught on the troll with 3.5 drone spoons or pink sea witches with a strip bait. You want to get those baits down deep, either behind a wire line or a planer, and use a long leader, fish anywhere from about 90 to 130 feet of water. And there's also some kings being caught on live baits, pilchards, and herrings. Trolling's been producing more fish, but the size has been better on the liveys. And the kings have been in the 5 to 12 pound range. And the areas from Boca Inlet north to Lake Worth Inlet has been the best for these kings.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the ACR hotspots from the Casa Vieja Southeast region. He says, in short, fish your local lakes and canals with live and artificial baits for both largemouth and peacock bass. Then offshore, look for the dolphin under the birds and around the weed lines, and anything that's floating anywhere from 8 to 20 miles offshore.
All right, well, Rick, well, I'm so excited because we're headed to the CCA workbench for rigs and techniques with Dave Farrell and special guest Bynane coming up for some Bass 101. I can't not say your name like that. I just have to say it.
He's going to do a great job. I'm not going to have to say anything, am I?
Nope.
Well, let's hope not. But yeah, I love bass fishing in Florida, man. I grew up here doing it, so I'm excited.
Beautiful.
All right.
Well, we can't wait. And then we're headed to the Alta Equipment East region with Captain Mike Holliday, where the bite is unlimited. So stay hooked, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. ACR. Less search, more rescue. Scientific Anglers. Failure is not an option. Penn. Let the battle begin. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, you can see we're here at the CCA workbench, and my good buddy Bobby Lane and Dave Farrell are here joining me. Big Fish Bobby, why they call you Big Fish Bobby?
Man, you know, I don't know. I think it's strictly because I used to do a lot of flipping with a 1.5 ounce weight, punching through that heavy matted vegetation, and I was always looking for that big one. And back when we had a lot of vegetation, that's how you caught big ones, and I would stick with it whether I caught 1 fish or 5 fish all day.
All right, I know Dave's got some questions. I'm backing out, but I'm part of this tonight.
You don't have to back anywhere. you know, fall is coming up. And that bass are starting to move a little bit. What are we going to try to do to find these fish as they're on the move?
Yeah, man, this is an awesome time of the year to be fishing. You're right. We got some cold fronts starting to work their way down in Florida. Water temps are starting to drop a little. First thing I like to do is look for shell bars. Easily fire up your electronics.
Right.
Normally when you're on side imaging, you're going to see like an all brown on your side imaging. When you start to see that transfer in that contour line where it gets a little wider, that means you got a hard spot. That's definitely going to be a shell bar. What I like to do, the Berkeley War Pig, fire this thing out there first, burn that thing across that shell bar. They will eat that guaranteed, and then when they slow down, I simply put a Carolina rig on, drag that over that shell. Guaranteed that's a way to definitely catch some fish first thing in the morning.
Search bait.
Search bait 100%. If the wind's blowing a little, definitely going to catch a few more fish.
I like to hit those shell bars in Toho, doing that exact same thing.
You got it.
Next, after the morning time, what do we do in the afternoon?
Oh, you got to pick up a swim bait, or you got to pick up a Berkeley swamp lure. Of course, you got the popping frog, you got the walking frog. Look for something matted vegetation. As the sun comes up, the water temps get a little bit warmer. They get under that mat to use it for a shade, even a dock. They like to slip up under there. These big Florida bass are lethargic, and when they see that swamp lord come through there, they have to get it. They don't eat very many times during the day when the fall comes, but when they do, they usually eat early, and they like to eat on the moons in the afternoon. So if you got a full moon, definitely the middle of the afternoon is when you want to be out there throwing that popping frog or that walking frog over some kind of matted vegetation. You better have some Berkeley 50-pound Durabraid on there, because them big girls get it. You don't want to lose them.
Now, when you're pulling that frog across that matted stuff, do you slow it down a little bit, or do you try to work it faster when it's on top of the mats?
You might have heard this before, but what I love about bass fishing is they usually tell you how they want it. Right. Kind of like saltwater fishing when you get a bite and then you miss him, right? Or maybe you weren't working it fast enough, or maybe you were working it too fast, right? So usually I like a pop, and then let it sit. And then maybe 3 more pops with the popping frog, same with the walking frog. And then usually if they come up and when you hook them and it's down in their throat or down inside their mouth somewhere, you know you are working it correctly, and you definitely have the right color turned on. So, or you got the right color tied on. I just love fishing frogs and let the fish tell you how they want it.
Well, you also mentioned that flipping again before. What kind of weights are you using, and what kind of baits are you using when you're flipping?
Yeah, I've cut my teeth down here in the state of Florida flipping. I mean, from Okeechobee to Lake Seminole to Toho to the Harris chain, the Kissimmee chain of lakes. I mean, I've done it all. I'm flipping baits. Something black and blue. Right. Anywhere from a 1/4 ounce all the way up to a 2 ounce weight. The thicker the matted vegetation, you gotta punch that weight through it. These fish are on a reaction bite. They don't want something sinking through that grass. They want it falling fast. They react to it and they nail it immediately. So thicker the vegetation, I'll go even up to a 2 ounce weight. Lighter the vegetation, up even a 1/4 ounce weight. Everything again on big, heavy 50, 65 pound braid. When they hit, no reason to let them go any further. Set the hook as hard as you can and bring them fish
Start winding immediately.
Start winding immediately.
Keeping them up on top. Now, how about those swim baits? When are you going to be using those? Are those the same type of deal during the day, or is it in the morning or in the afternoon?
Good thing you asked, but swim baits have become the new craze around the world. You got to have a swim bait on. This is the Berkeley Coal Shad. Rick, what I love about this one, you can actually take the hook out, and when it's placed back in properly, you can hear that thing snap. So when you're skipping this thing under docks or skipping it somewhere, you know when that snap is in place, that hook is exactly where it needs to be. You don't have to throw it under docks. You throw this out in open water over any kind of, that looks good for saltwater if you ask me. It looks just like a mullet, but fish love swim baits. I like it on 20-pound. Berkeley 100% fluorocarbon, just a regular 7.3 medium heavy rod with any kind of at least a 6/8 to 8-to-1 reel. Throw it out there. This bait is so easy to work. You just reel it. You don't have to twitch it. You don't have to stop it. Boom, they come in there and get it, and that hook gets them every single time.
Son of a trouble. We missed an opportunity today. We should have thrown this at the tarpon and the snook this morning. Yeah. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I caught plenty of tarpon this morning. I wanted to say thank you for putting me on those tarpon today. That was awesome.
I actually dropped a little bomb on you. Look, I got a couple tarpon pictures of my man landing one. Here's one that's jumping out of his hand, a leader. Bub, that was one of my favorite days. For 4 hours of fishing, we certainly got in a lot of trouble.
Those tarpon got us in a lot of trouble. That was the coolest thing I have ever done, Rick. If I ever have anybody ask me where to go catch some juvenile tarpon, I know where to send them, because I've been tarpon fishing a lot, and that was probably the most I've ever seen and the most biting.
Well, there you have it.
Well, we're going to go to another region, right, Bree?
Absolutely. All right. Well, from mud puddles to Lake O, you'll never be hurting for a bass bite in the Alto Equipment East region, where quality and quantity come hand in hand, according to Captain Mike Holliday. What's up, Mike? Good to see you.
Hey, Bree. You know, there's so many great places to bass fish in the Alto Equipment East region. If you like big water, we have Lake Okeechobee, the Loxahatchee Wildlife Refuge at Blue Cypress Lake. The smaller lakes are your game. There's the Lake Ida Osborne chain, the Stick Marsh or Headwaters Lake. And then there's just a wealth of urban canals and ponds and small water retention ponds that are just full of fish. One of my favorite places is the drainage off the parking lot in Home Depot in Stuart. There's a little pond there. Really good bass fishing spot. If bass fishing in Florida, there are a couple of lures you have to have in your tackle box. A June bug colored worm for fishing the grass, and a chrome with a blue back lipless crankbait for fishing the open water. And in September, water temperatures are still very hot, but the shad are schooling up. So you want to be on the water in the dark to take advantage of that dawn shad bite. In the ponds and canals, that's the time to fish the topwater plugs, the frogs that Bobby was just talking about, and the Bass Assassin forward-facing sonar shads. And then as the sun gets up, it's time to pitch live shiners on the edges of the grass mats or slow troll them around that open water until you find some fish and then fish that area. It's also time to switch over to worm fishing, working a Texas rig RSB worm or a wacky rig fat job or KO Assassin. And that schooling fish bite produces those 1 to 3 pound fish, where shiner and worm bite's going to get you larger. The pitching bite's going to get you those 3 to 8 pound September bass. Then have a cool photo from Lake Okeechobee. Justin Morgan got this nice fish, flipping the Bass Assassin bang bug on some isolated cattails out off King's Bar. The other thing we got going on, the mullet run is in full swing, and while the snip fishing's kind of inconsistent, the tarpon bite has been outstanding during the day and the night. The key right now is to find the school of larger mullet, be around those areas at dawn and dusk. All the inlets right now have tarpon feeding on mullet on the outgoing tides, particularly after dark. And there's also been good bites at the Roosevelt Bridge and the 10 Cent Bridge in Stuart and around the Fort Pierce Turning Basin, particularly at night. There's also been good daytime bites on the beaches, where in the areas that you can fish, and wherever you're finding good concentrations of mullet in the intercoastal or up in the Indian or St. Lucie or Loxahatchee rivers. The fish are really focused on mullet right now. And if you can find those arbitrarily rolling tarpon working over a large area, that's just a great time to put an 8 to 14 inch mullet out behind the boat. Slow troll it using your trolling motors. What you want to do is you want to get the baits up to make a wake on the surface, and the fish will key in on that wake. They'll feel that vibration. You can also pitch mullet into the bait schools or anchor up and put dead baits on the bottom. And then around the bridges, live mullet, topwater plugs, and saltwater assassin Artemis shads are going to be your top baits. Average tarpon right now anywhere from 30 to 100 pounds or more. And I got a photo from Captain Chris Britton of Port St. Lucie. He led his anglers to this nice tarpon release. They were fishing live mullet in the St. Lucie River.
Yes, they sure were. All right, let's go offshore, buddy.
Well, the lack of current right now has really slowed down the blue water bite. The best action really has been on kingfish out on the reefs, like off of Mar-a-Lago, out off the Juneau Pier, the 6 Mile Reef, the Sand Pile, the offshore bar. The majority of kings have been those like 8 to 15 pound schoolies, but there has been some bigger kings coming in close to shore on the west wind days. They're in there to feed on the mullet schools in close to the beach, or the pilchard schools in places like the Vero Cove and Peck's Lake, the historic kingfish spots. You'll mark kings on your depth recorder on your sonar as straight lines. And once you find them, you want to work that area really well, making a lot of turns. A lot of the bites come when the bait speeds up and then swings into that turn. And you can target the fish by trolling with double hook ballyhoo or mullet on a number 6 wire. But the probably most popular method is to slow troll live thread fins or pilchards or sardines. With a mullet run going on, you can troll mullet, put them out on a number 4 wire stinger rig. If the fish are spread out, you can drift and put out baits on a triple hook monofilament Palm Beach rig. I got a kingfish photo from Captain Charlie Stuve at Jupiter. He got this nice king in 110 feet of water off the Juneau Pier, and that fish ate a live mullet.
Nice.
The other bite offshore, the dolphin bite's been sort of hit or miss. One day it's producing a handful of schoolies. The next day, only a couple boats that are out there are coming across fish. This is the time of year when our prevailing winds switch over from the southeast winds of summer to the northeast winds of winter. And when we get those northerly winds, it brings a lot of fish back south and into our area. And then there's also been big schools of juvenile flying fish. So when you're out there, you want to look for flying fish just anywhere around the boat, getting out of the water for no reason, and then run over to that spot and look for the dolphin. On the days when the wind isn't out of the northerly direction, you can just run and gun to cover water and look for any signs of fish like diving birds or turtles or floating objects or big weed lines, the normal dolphin stuff. Target the fish right now by covering water. You do that trolling ballyhoo or like a skirt and strip combination or small feathers. This is also a good time to throw your cast net, on your way out, stop and load up on finger mullet, and then troll your other baits. And then when you hook a fish, stop the boat, throw a handful of those finger mullet over to draw the other fish within casting range, and either put out a mullet or throw like a big jig at them. Average dolphin right now is not very big, 5 to 15 pounds. I have a photo from Mike Long of a schoolie dolphin that got in 220 feet of water on a troll ballyhoo.
Well, Mike, tonight you got 2 minutes of your life back because bass is normally what you cover each week.
I know, man, and look, you got Lakeland Bobby Lane in the house, dude.
I know.
I will see you, Bobby, on the 5th and 6th of December for the Bobby Lane Cup.
All right, good job, bud. We'll see you later. Thank you for such a great report. We're going to take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East region. He says, inshore, spotted sea trout on the flats of Middle Cove, topwater plugs, pilchard colored, 5-inch shads, or molting colored salty snacks is going to work for those trout. And then offshore, vermilion snapper on Push Button Hill, squid, bonita strips, or pilchards on a chicken rig should catch those snappers. What's going on? Do you do legs today, booty today?
Oh, I don't know.
You seem like you're getting all tightened up on me.
Yeah, well, we're all getting older. All right, another Berkeley seminar is coming up on October
I got
2nd.
shoes older than you, baby.
With the Murphy boys, Captain Rick and Ridge. They're talking all things Berkeley lures at Chaos Fishing in Did you know you were doing this? In Pompano from 5:30 to 7. We're going to talk stories. We're going to get Berkeleys. We're going to have all sorts of things there, right? Giveaways, fun.
Yeah, I got a question though. You coming?
Close enough.
All right.
Close enough
it's
to
right down the street from your house.
Right down
I
the street.
expect to see you to be there.
I will be there.
Did you
all right,
understand what I just said? I don't.
Oh my gosh. The casting continues in the Startron Central West region. Plus, we're chatting with our friend from Florida Coast Equipment. And then we're checking in on the Lunkers with Captain Jim Ross in the Central East region. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio, blue light blocking, radically clear polarized fishing sunglasses. Guy Harvey, every purchase helps support the health of our oceans and marine life. Penn, let the battle begin. Kubota, together we do more. And Heroes on the Water, paddle, fish, heal.
Well, as you can see, joining me, Todd Bachman from Florida Coast Equipment. Todd, president, CEO. Dude, we got a lot of stuff going on, but let me ask you something. Everybody in the fishing business talking about tariffs. How's it affecting you guys?
So the reality is it hasn't hit us yet, but it's kind of like boats and reels. It's coming.
Yeah.
So the reality is what's on the ground today is what I would call pre-tariff. What's coming from the factory today is going to be post-tariff. And those numbers could be 2% increases or they could be double-digit increases. And so it's coming, but it hadn't hit us yet.
So let me ask you, what should people expect? Is it going to be more towards certain size equipment? I mean, obviously it's hard to say, but do you have any idea?
It's steel, so it's everything.
Yeah.
And so ultimately the origin is coming from steel, and so it's going to be on everything. And so really the way you can avoid it is get on it now. Like whether you're a consumer and you need a new mower or you need a new tractor for your house or you need a new track loader coming up to do your business, like it's probably time to go ahead and get in the business and do it and not wait till year end or the next year.
All right, so I got a question. You got multiple stores from Ocala all the way to, Homestead. So do we have plenty of inventory available? So
yeah, we got
they can
great
take advantage of some
100%.
deals.
Now here's the crazy. We've got about 3,000 units on the ground right now. Sounds like a lot of units. That's just a couple months worth of inventory. And so we got 14 stores, Ocala to the Keys. We got you covered, and we can go a little bit further north and a little bit further south from there if you need to be helped. The way we look at it is we want to make sure you're close enough to service it after you buy it from us. So essentially, if you're within 60 miles of one of our stores, we can take care of you.
So tell me real quickly, where do we go to find it with the website?
www.floridacoasteq.com. E as in Edward, Q as in Queen.com.
All right, so one of the other things that we've discovered by you sponsoring this show is a lot of times you're talking to our audience, which those guys maybe have a landscape company, whatever, but not only do they fish, but you fish too. Why don't you tell me a little bit about these couple pictures that we got here?
Man, look, I get probably 20 days a year on the water, but those are my best 20 days, and that's the best fish I've caught in a few years. Just a few weeks ago, and that's what I love doing more than anything, is hanging with my kids, spending the day on the water, but boy, it's a whole lot of fun when you catch them like that.
All right, well, we sure appreciate the support. You did a great job. Guys, you're thinking about some equipment, zero-turn mowers, side-by-side, guess what? Call my man here, Todd, and get lined up before these tariffs take effect. Right, Bree?
Exactly, Todd. That dolphin was insane. My dream dolphin right there. All right, Captain Jeff Page is giving us plenty of options in the StarTron Central West region if freshwater is where you're headed this weekend. So, Page, give us the goods.
All right, I will. And you know what? In the StarTron Central West region, we've always had a pretty good largemouth bass fishery. And the cool thing about it, there's a lot of different ways you can attack it, a lot of different bodies of water you can catch them in. Probably the closest to the center of my region would be the Myakka State Park, which has the upper and the lower lake. And then just a little north of there is Lake Manatee. Now, all those are run, with a ranger station. You have to check in. Of course, you have to have a license. And then you're allowed to keep fish just like you normally do. And it's all natural habitat. And then we have our rivers, the Myakka and the Peace River to the south. And then to the north, we have the Hillsborough River, as well as the Little Manatee River. And those are more tannic and tidal driven, so you're going to have current in those. Some of the lures that work good in the lakes are the Bass Assassin 6 or 9 inch curly tail worm. And then the two colors that'll always be good for you are June bug and motor oil. They'll never let you down. And then in the rivers, you can literally troll lipped plugs, shallow running lip plugs behind your boat until you start catching them. And you won't be surprised if you catch a tarpon or a snook while you're doing it. Another hard bait that works real well are the smaller size jaywalker or the juke. And I would suggest in the golden black or the silver and black. And then, of course, we have our neighborhood ponds like everybody does, and a lot of those, some really big fish. I believe Dave Farrell's a neighborhood pond master, and some of the biggest fish are caught, and I recommend releasing all those neighborhood ponds. Remember, one other thing, you are required to have a freshwater flora license as well as your saltwater. My photo tonight is of a full-time saltwater captain, Larry Maroney, who in his spare time fishes club tournaments and enjoys bass fishing. That's a couple real nice bass.
Sure is. All right, tell me about the snooks, bub.
We got the new moon rolling in this week. That means big tides, Rick. That means up against the mangroves, up on the oyster bars, all that early morning stuff you can do with topwater plugs. And I'll tell you, there hasn't been a lot of grass up my way. Now, I haven't been down in the harbor, but those Turtle Bay and Bull Bay oyster bars are really good spots to fish on this tide that we have this week, first light, for a couple hours. Now, on that outgoing tide, which is also strong, live baits like big pinfish and big grunts and magnum-sized pilchards, you can drift or you can set your trolling motor on anchor lock and fish any of those inlets from Gasparilla to Venice Jetty all the way up to Egmont for big snook on that outgoing tide. And don't be surprised if you don't get a tarpon. They're still hanging around. My snook pick tonight is with a happy young angler with Captain Dawson Day, rolling offshore mangrove snapper, still solid mangrove snapper bite. With these strong new moons, it's going to be even better as we approach later in the week. And fish are getting fired up on good bait stacks and hard bottom areas as well as ledges. And the key is watching that machine, finding those stacks, and you'll find the fish. Pilchards and pinfish, not big pinfish, but mid-size, have been the best bait. If you can't get them, you're going to be able to go with small pieces of sardines, or you could stop and get some thread fins and cut them up. Light leader as possible. The water's gotten really clear with lack of rain. Captains down out of Stump Pass has been doing real well in 110 to 150 feet of water. And I've got a picture of a couple lady anglers with a couple real nice snapper. Last and not least, the gag grouper went out with a bang. Last week was the final week of recreational, and no problem getting their limits. Most of the guys I spoke with, inshore and offshore, 150 feet has been the ticket. Big live pinfish, big magnum-sized pilchards. And my last photo tonight, Captain Rick, is of a big old stud gag with Captain Jeremy Razonka.
All right, bud. Thank you so much. Great report. We're going to talk about the daiquiri deck hotspots now. Inshore, he says, snook, throw topwater plugs such as the Jaywalker 120 in bone color for the first 2 hours of daylight around the mangroves and oyster bars in Terracea Bay to the north, and then Bull Bay and Turtle Bay to the south, and then offshore. Spanish Max and Kingfish, they've showed up on the north part of the region along Longboat Key north to Egmont, 7 to 11 miles out. Find the bait schools and you'll find the fish. You free line a live bait or troll spoons is going to catch those max.
All right, well, since we're in Jeffrey Page's region, coming up September 27th, get ready to fish for a cause from any state for the Red Trout Go Live tournament, a special Facebook Live event benefiting the treatment and recovery of our Central West region captain, Jeff Page. Join anglers from all over the country and compete for the largest redfish up to 9 pounds and the single heaviest trout, all for a great cause and an absolute legendary captain, as we all know. So make sure you scan that QR code on your screen for more info, just to donate and or to get registered. And then, if you'll be in the Siesta Key region Friday, September 26th and Saturday the 27th, come join us for the kickoff party and after party at Daiquiri Deck. Rick, Dave, Ridge, Jeff, and myself will be there with raffles, giveaways, drink specials, autographs, and 10% of all those proceeds will be donated to Jeff Page as well.
All right.
So we're partying for a cause, we're fishing for a cause.
Yeah, and you can hear it in his voice, that's part of his condition. He has a lung condition. Guys, if you're not going to fish a tournament, sign up for the tournament and consider it a donation because, even if the weather's bad, he needs all the money he can get because they don't take insurance where he's going for the treatments.
Right. So help
we
out,
got to
guys.
do this, guys.
Yep. All right. Well, the Central East region is ready for a season change, and Captain Jim Ross is here to tell us how to navigate that. Hello, Captain Jim.
Hello, y'all, and hey to Bobby. And I tell you, Kubota, way to go, man. Those guys did a great number fixing my tractor up with this. Go get yourself a Kubota and see them guys up in Mims here on the Space Coast. We're talking about the Space Coast. Bass anglers are looking forward to some really big bass coming up right now. We're coming into the fall time, and that's when the big bass get active here. So it's that time of the year. The rain showers have the water flowing, and the bass are out there looking for something to chew on. So topwater plugs, swim baits, Texas rig worms, and Cinco style worms are really good. And speaking about swim baits, I've got a picture here from Cody Hayden of a 7-pound on Lake Orange that he got on a deposit slip colored bang bug that he was using as a swim bait on a jig head. And that's a nice fish for this time of the year. Man, staying inshore, we're going to talk about, actually, I'm not going to have it offshore this week, okay? And the reason is offshore has been absolutely horrible. So I'm going to tell you guys how to catch a slam. Redfish is the start. You're going to go to the Mosquito Lagoon or the Upper Indian River, and you're going to fish any of the outflows or any of the windy points right now. Chunk baits like ladyfish, mullet, and pinfish on a 4-aught circle hook should get you multiple fish per day. Now, the south portion of the region, take a live finger mullet or a croaker and put it under the mangrove bushes, and you're going to catch fish to 34 inches. Soft plastic jerk baits to 3 and 4 inches. In the 3 and 4 inch size range are working really good, especially if you rig them weedless where you've got grass. And then, of course, either of those locations, you want to go find the mullet schools because the redfish are hanging around the mullet schools. And I've got a picture here. Speaking of a slam, we got Michaela with a redfish that she got with Captain Glenn Austin down in Sebastian. Now, snook species I'm going to talk about. The snook bite remains significantly better than most of the other species in the region right now inside on the flats, not necessarily on the inlets and jetties anymore. They've moved inside. Live croakers, mullet, and mahar are working really good right now. Of course, finger mullet probably being the top. Live croaker coming in second. And so you want to take your artificial lures that look like them and fish them exactly the same way you would a live one. So if you're throwing that soft plastic bait like Rick was just showing, skip it up under next to the mangroves and work it along the mangroves. Swim it along those mangroves just like the mullet are, and you can get a snook just like this one Michaela's got here. And most snook are averaging 22 to 34 inches. And then my last species is trout. Obviously, speckled trout has been really slow in the middle and north portion of the region, but I'm telling you, man, when you get all the way up into the top end of the region, between Hong Kong Flat and Tiger Shoal, that's a hot area right now. Live croakers are doing really good. Trout under or shrimp under a or soft plastics under a pop and cork, really good. working really good. And then down on the south end, where we were talking about that Wabasso area down Beach, man, those points, islands, anything where there's current flowing around them right now, you're getting really, really good numbers of 15 to 24-inch trout. And here's Michaela once again to finish her slam off with a nice speckled trout. And that's exactly the way you guys can go about doing it, especially in the south end of my region right now. And once again, those courtesy of Captain Glenn Austin.
Okay, Michaela.
Good job, Michaela. Way to roll, man. Thank you so much, Jimmy. We're going to take a look at the Road and Marine System hotspots from the Central East region. He says inshore, obviously trout, redfish, snook, slams are possible for all anglers fishing around the pods of mullet in either the end of the region. Tidally influenced water is key to finding the 3 species to complete your inshore slam. And then offshore, a few sailfish are possible for anglers trolling naked chin-weighted ballyhoo near temperature breaks in 180 to 300 feet of water.
Offshore, garbage, stay inshore, slam.
I
love it. I love the honesty.
I just think trolling naked is just going to be
Okay.
a fun day.
Dave
period.
is ready to take on Taco Marine new products
Just
at the
saying.
CCA workbench. We can't let his mind wander, and it looks like there's a lot to talk about.
Well,
He said it, trolling naked.
The sun can be a bad thing if you're trolling naked.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got to make sure you cover.
Okay.
There's a lot
You
of sun.
two.
We've lost control
You
of the
too,
whole show.
and then Jeff
Way to go.
Hageman is in the Northwest region and getting you ready for the weekend action when we come back fully clothed.
Fully closed.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Abyss Battery, power your pursuit. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, best lures, period. And Black Oak LED, never be left in the dark.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench one more time, but we're going to troll the edge with Taco Marine,
Yes.
Dave, and guess what?
It's hard for me not to applaud myself.
Bass and new products every single day. There's something invented for bass fishing.
Yep, and Berkeley just invented that thing there. That's the Berkeley Jack. It's a lipless crankbait, and it uses tungsten weights inside of it, and it's got that real sharp knife edge, profile on it, so it sinks really fast if you want it to. You can fish that in like 2 up to 30 feet of water, or 40 feet even. In the heavier ones, it comes in 3 different sizes. That's the smallest one there. It's got a 6, a 7, and an 8. I think that little 6 there is like a half ounce.
Half ounce.
And then it goes up to 1 ounce. And you see how thin that thing is. So it really gives a nice flash when you're cranking it along. You can rip it and watch it fall, kind of like a vibe bait, It's really just a really cool thing. It's easy to cast, and it's got those Fusion 19 hooks on it. 3 different sizes, like I said, 22 different colors. There's there's a ton of different colors for that little joker.
We got to bring this over into the saltwater world because I see
it looks
half ounce be snook fishing. I see the 1 ounce with the size 8 would be great for fishing the jetties in Texas. So, all right, get ready, Berkeley. I'm coming in hot.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
All right.
Next, we have which we've seen several times tonight, the Bass Assassin 3.5-inch Bang Bug. This is the all-new Bang Bug. It's a creature-style bait that kind of resembles a crawfish. It's an all-purpose bait. It's designed for, to put it on a swim jig, a bass jig, a buzz bait. You can put it on a spinnerbait trailer. You can pitch it. You can put it on a Carolina rig all by itself. Comes in a whole different variety of colors. And it's one of the most universal baits. Like I just said, all those things you can do with that little doodad there.
That's good. Doodads are good.
Yes, they are.
All
Really nice. That's 3.5 inches, that little joker. BassAssassin.com to get you one of those new Bang Bugs.
All right.
Next, we have the Scientific Anglers Amplitude Textured Bass Bug Fly Line. And this is a fly line that's got a nice textured floating section on the top so that when you're throwing that thing, you can use big streamers and big bugs for bass and whatnot. It was made for that. And it's the first series of lines that they've made that feature a really revolutionary AST plus slick coating on there.
Right.
It's an additive that really just makes it shoot faster and cast longer. That floating section on the tip section allows you to use top water stuff and big streamers, and it's just specifically designed for throwing those very large, air-resistant dry flies and streamers for bass in rivers, lakes, and ponds. It's overweighted by 2 line sizes just to assist in that loading.
Just so they can pick up the big, heavy bugs
correct.
and carry them.
Yeah.
So smart on their behalf.
And inside of it's got a braided monofilament core, so if you hook a big bass, you don't have to worry about it breaking off.
And you know, they're so good at being able, they're building lines for specific species. So guys, go check out scientificanglers.com is where we find that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Last but not least, we've got these Fenwick all-new Eagle series, which has been redesigned from the butt to the tip. You know, these are completely brand new, constructed of a blend of 24 and 30-ton intermediate and high modulus graphite. They're very light. They have a proprietary resin inside of them that gives them that strength and lightness at the same time. Excellent sensitivity and very crisp action for any of the applications you come up with.
Super light.
Yeah, and that's a stout rod.
Grab that tip for me.
If you look at that thing,
Now
that's pretty stout rod there.
Look, hold it tight. Don't let it slap Dave in the face. But look at how much pressure I can put on that.
I know, I understand.
That's awesome.
I wish you would do
that.
that.
So where do we go
way.
to find this Fenwick, Dave?
Well, they got stainless steel guide frames and zirconia inserts, that multi-material split down there at the back for a good blend of feel and balance. And they got a nice contoured butt on the bottom so you can put it in your gut.
Dave, I know what you're thinking.
FenwickFishing.com.
But it's not happening. These 3 are going home with me, baby.
Well, that's okay. I got all those over there.
What doesn't go home with you, Rick Murphy? Everything on this.
He's got his own shop behind him.
Oh, it's like he doesn't own the show or something. All right, summer is the perfect time for some Yamaha Repower finance offers. From now until September 30th, 2025, purchase a new eligible Yamaha outboard to get rates as low as 6.99% for 72 months when financed through Yamaha. For purchases made on the Yamaha credit card, get intro rates as low as 2.99% for 36 months, then 15.99 to 23.99% APR thereafter. Visit YamahaOutboards.com for complete details. But if you plan on reeling in some bass in the Northwest region this weekend, then listen to the different ways Captain Jeff Hageman has you catching them. Hi, Hag.
How you doing? Bass, we've got some great bass fishing in my region, thousands of lakes and ponds. Most of our bigger fish are caught in the winter months when the fish are spawning. Shiners, plastic worms, hard baits are all effective, everything you guys have been talking about. We also have a kind of unique way of catching them. Lake Tarpon's got a bunch of shad in it, and people actually go out and cast net shad with a 1/4-inch mesh net, get them chummed up, and put them in their live wells and go out there and get against a shoreline and chum with a bat like you're fishing for snook with sardines. So they're chumming out these shad out there, and where the bass are popping, they're casting out their shad and catching them that way. It's kind of a cool way to catch them. Another popular way in our region is also slow trolling shiners over grass beds. Very effective. We have a ton of parks in our region with lake access. You don't have to have a boat to go bass fishing. Check with your local Parks and Rec or local bait shop to get some more information on where to fish without a boat. And I got a photo here of Parker. He just won the Elite Tournament out of Lake Harris.
Nice.
So congratulations to Parker there. Moving offshore, with mangrove snapper bites been good over the offshore reefs and wrecks off our coast right now in anywhere from 25 to 90 feet of water. Live sardines, small pinfish, or shrimp have been the bait's choice. Using a knocker rig or just enough lead to get to the bottom, or freeline them over the structure with lots of chum drifted back over the structure also is working really well. Moving on inshore, Captain James Goodwin with Go Florida Fishing out of St. Pete reports a good fish bite right now. On the top of the tide, fish have been starting to school up really well right now. They've been mixed in with a mullet, so keep that in mind when you're out there targeting redfish. Look for those schools of mullet. Live sardines and cut bait has been really effective for Captain Jamie. And I got a photo here of a nice Tampa Bay redfish.
Nice. All right. What else you got this week?
Staying inshore, Captain Corey Palmer out of Tarpon Springs reports a good snook bite right now on both incoming and outgoing tides. He's fishing the beaches, passes, and outer island and creek mouths. Live sardines has been his bait of choice, and I got a beautiful Tarpon Springs snook from Captain Corey.
All right. Thank you so much, Hag. We appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Discover Crystal River hotspots from the Northwest region. He says, inshore, redfish on the top of the tide in the deep cuts adjacent to the mangrove shorelines or flats. And then use cut bait on a 4-0 trocar circle hook. Offshore, snappers on the high relief structure in 25 to 40 feet of water. Use shrimp and sardines and a light leaded knocker rig with a 1-0 trocar circle hook.
All right, Rick. Well, as you know, for 40 years, CCA Florida has fought to protect our waters, our fisheries, and our marine habitat. So, to celebrate 4 decades of conservation, CCA Florida will host its 40th anniversary gala on December 11th. Special guests like Dr. Guy Harvey, George Palvaromo, and our very own Captain Rick Murphy will be in attendance.
That's right, and on top of it, Grammy award-winning country and western legend Clint Black will also be giving us a special live performance at the end of the night.
How fun
Clint's
is
gonna
that?
be in the house playing it.
Clint. All right, well, you don't want to miss the biggest party celebrating conservation at Rose and Shingle Creek in Orlando. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available at ccaflorida.org/40th Gala. It's going to be a good time.
I'm so excited, and unfortunately, you're not going to be there.
Well, my 95-year-old grandma's going to be having a party too, so I got to go celebrate her.
Yeah,
Hello,
you do.
95.
Yes, you do.
All right, the Northeast region is getting you ready for all of the bass action coming up, and then Cats and Katsanine in the Panhandle region is dialing you in to that trophy catch, so get ready to set the hook. But remember, if you're hooked on fishing in Florida, there's always more to see beyond the show, so scan the QR code to connect with us. From bonus tips and full reports to fishing videos and merch, it's all just a click away. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Startron. Start, run, and store with Startron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, conserving Florida's fisheries since 1985. Frontrunner Boatworks, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
So, Bree, this 350 that's behind us here isn't just known for offshore capabilities.
No.
Let's check out this package.
All right.
When I think about the new Yamaha F350, I think of how it's the perfect motor to round out Yamaha's lineup. It's much lighter than the old model and is the lightest 350 in its class, being 65 pounds lighter than the competition. The 350 is perfect for anyone who is thinking about repowering, with the motor only weighing 18 pounds more than the 300. This gives you the option of more horsepower for almost the same weight. I love the performance of my 350 on the Skeeter Bay boat. It's perfect for that 24-foot boat, pushing it at a top speed of 64 miles an hour. And with the integrated steering, it is perfect and fun to navigate through the channels and the rivers of the Everglades. The 350 also comes with thrust-enhancing reversed exhaust, which means that I have more control at low speed and very little bubble trail while I'm trolling lures and my baits so that they can be seen. The 350 70 amp alternator produces more than 30 net amps per outboard at idle. And if you have more than one, the 350 allows these alternators to be stacked to keep all of your radios, your electronics, bait well pumps running while still charging your bank of batteries. So whether you have a big offshore boat, a bay boat, or maybe thinking about building a new boat, maybe the 350 Yamaha is the way to go. If you want to know more information about any Yamahas, go to yamahaoutboards.com or to your local dealer. Any questions?
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think you covered all of it.
Not
Per usual.
bad for a guy who doesn't write. I wrote that whole script. How about that?
How about that? You read it too? Interesting.
Nah, that's not too good a read.
All right, for most, that first bass in the Northeast region is the gateway to becoming addicted to fishing for life, according to Captain Tommy Derringer. So Tommy, get us hooked.
That's right, Bree. Northeast region's an awesome place to get some bass going. I have some awesome memories of when I was a kid, catching bass And catching those bass, it's like you said, it's a gateway to more fishing later in life when you're a kid. Just one great thing about bass fishing, aside from maybe just a rain puddle, just about any body of fresh water is going to hold some largemouth bass. And that makes them readily available to just about anyone with a pole and a plastic worm. Now, like I mentioned before, a lot of people start off just fishing for bass in their backyard or in a neighborhood pond, and they have so much fun doing it that it leads them to get more into saltwater fishing and ultimately into the different species that we talk about every week here on the show, which is awesome. Now, bass fishing is also a great way to go catch some fish for the angler that has limited time to go fishing. You know, I've got friends that can go to one of the ponds by their house after work in their neighborhood, catch a couple nice bass. They're going to be home in time for dinner, even help the kiddos out with their homework. Everybody's happy. Now, we do have some fantastic trophy bass fishing here in the region. Right now in the St. Johns River, anglers are catching a lot of bass on live shrimp. Those shrimp have been running, and they've been running strong pretty much for the last couple of months. Right now, the bass are up shallow early in the mornings, and then they're moving out to a little bit deeper areas as it heats up during the day. But you can catch those deeper water bass on a Bass Assassin plastic worm in the June bug blue tail color, rigged a variety of different ways depending on how deep it is. And as it cools off over the next few months, those bass are going to get a lot more active, and they're going to want to stay up shallower during the day. And I got a couple pictures of some bass here, guys. The first picture is of Charlie Freeman and his dad, Justin, with Charlie's giant bass that they caught in a neighbor's pond, which is awesome. And then the second picture was sent to me from Jake Sanders, and this is Jake with his dad, Michael, and their giant bass that they sight fished off some beds. And that is one heck of a father-son experience right there. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that same thing.
It sure is, man.
Cool.
So moving inshore, I guess, you know, the redfish are getting a lot of attention over the last couple of weeks here in the region with the big flood tides and the big bull reds. They're being caught throughout the region right now. You know, we've had flood tides for almost 2 weeks straight, and we have more coming up next week. And those redfish have been happy, man. They're up there tailing away in the grass. And then the big bull reds have been showing up at better numbers over the last couple of weeks as well. The bridges, the jetties, the edges of the St. Johns River, those places are all holding good numbers of those bull redfish, especially around those slack tides. You know, I spoke to my good buddy Mark Fiegel, who tells me that he's been on a great bull redfish bite near the Dames Point Bridge in Jacksonville. Mark is using whole blue crabs, and he let me in on one of his secrets. You know, he's using a Sputnik weight to help hold his bait on the bottom. You know, that can be a big help. We've had some huge tides, and the tide has been ripping. So try that out if you're having a problem holding it on the bottom. And I've got another picture here. Mark Fiegel, he's the Northeast Florida CCA chapter president. He sent me this picture of some of his family with his nephew Reese and his monster redfish that he caught. And that's Reese's first ever redfish.
Wow,
what a way to start.
That's awesome.
Now, moving offshore, guys, there really hasn't been a whole lot of offshore fishing the last couple of weeks. We've had some serious high winds and rough ocean happening. But typically this time of year, the triggerfish are going to start to chew, according to the guys I talked to. And you can find them in about 140 to 160 feet. The bait of choice for those triggers is going to be cut Boston mackerels or maybe pieces of squid. But if you can grab a bonita and chunk it up, that's going to be ideal. They love that chunked bonita. They're using a 2-hook chicken rig with a fairly light wire eagle claw circle hook. That's good to use so it'll stick in the bony triggerfish's mouth. And you're typically going to find them up a little bit up in the water column. Now, also offshore, guys, I spoke to a couple of our bottom fishing experts this week. They tell me that the mutton and mangrove snapper bite should still be going pretty strong out there. They're going to be targeting the muttons in about 120 foot and deeper. And the boys said they're using a knocker rig with an 8-foot leader and up to 16 ounces of weight, depending on the current. Like I said, it's been ripping here lately. Best baits are live or dead sardines on an 8 to 10-aught eagle claw circle hook. Although most are probably going to be targeting those muttons, the mangrove snapper are still around in those same areas. And I've got one last picture here. Our buddy Erin Johnson, she sent me this picture of her husband Jordan with a nice mutton snapper that they caught east of St. Augustine.
All right, Tommy, thank you for all the pictures. Tell Erin we both said hello. We're going to go and take a look at the strike zone, northeast hotspots. Tommy says inshore bull reds at the inlets and bridges and jetties use chunk blue crabs, cut mullet, or ladyfish on the bottom, and then fish around the slack tide for those guys, and then offshore, muttons, mangroves, triggerfish in 120 to 140 feet of water around the higher relief structures.
All right, well, the opportunity to catch a lunker in the Panhandle region is endless, from rivers to golf courses and literally everything in between. So let's find out more with Captain Pat Deneen. Hello, Pat.
Yeah, like Tommy was just mentioning, the Panhandle, they've got a lot of opportunity over there, and we do it here as well. The bass fishermen, we've got the big reservoirs, smaller ponds on state and federal public land, so good access. There's several rivers, plenty of golf courses with water hazards. I mean, the options are really numerous and unlimited, really. The best bass fishing is going to be in the spring and the fall when the water temperature starts changing. Lately it's been hot and dry, and we're coming out of summer. So the water temperatures on those freshwater bodies are quite elevated. And the better fishing is going to be in the water bodies that have some deeper water, like the big reservoirs, Lake Talquin, Lake Seminole. They both have plenty of depth and cooler water, as do the bigger rivers, the Apalachicola River, Choctawhatchee River. And with the lack of rainfall we've been having lately, the rivers are extremely low. I mean, they're really low, which concentrates the fish. All these oxbow lakes off the sides of the rivers, it's not all flooded timber, so the fish are in these lake areas. And my bass fishing buddies say the river conditions are as good as it gets right now for bass fishing. It's concentrating those fish in those deeper channels in those oxbow lakes and the river bends. And in the smaller lakes, the ponds and golf courses, you want to fish early or late in the afternoon, just before dark and into twilight, to take advantage of this cooler weather. And as those fish get out of that deeper water, kind of roam up in the shallower, it's a lot better. I got a picture there that Dave Miller, he's a buddy of mine in Destin. He's an avid bass fisherman. He does the lunch break fishing on the golf courses. And he catches big bass like that regularly, just right in the neighborhood. So
Dave's a fan of Dave.
Stuff. I'm sorry?
Dave's a fan of Dave.
Oh, Dave is a fan of Dave. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Tell me about the redfish, Bub.
Moving in, or staying inshore, but moving into the salt. The redfish are definitely starting to do their fall thing, schooling up in the bays. We're finding big bull redfish under birds in the deeper parts of the bay, but more consistently, they're schooling up on the deeper bridges in the middle parts of the bays, like 3 Mile Bridge, Mid-Bay Bridge here in Choctaw, Tyndall and Hathaway Bridges over in Panama City. Interesting enough, although some redfish are being caught in the passes, particularly over in Panama City's pass, they really haven't kicked off yet like they normally do in Destin's East Pass. So that should be happening soon as October arrives. In the open water, you're going to find the bait. Chances are you're going to find the redfish, or at least some big Jack Crevalles. So look for concentrations of pogies or pilchards. And to find the bait concentrations, look for the pelicans bombing. Personally, I've been working the pilings on the Mid-Bay Bridge. I've been using my bottom machine, keeping an eye, watching for those schooling fish, and then jig fishing with a 3-ounce head and a paddle tail soft bait, just dropping it down and slow bouncing it. And they're all nice, big, fat redfish, like the one in this photo that I got of Kevin Gallagher. That's one of many bull redfish he caught jigging the pilings at Mid-Bay using a pearl gulp shrimp on a jig head.
Nice.
That's been really, really consistent and should just continue being good.
Nice.
Moving offshore, there's some big amberjacks being caught on the wrecks. Particularly the bigger fish are on the deeper wrecks, particularly the Ozark, the Risky cutoff rigs out to the southwest, high relief ledges and mounts. Basically anywhere you got some good relief up off the bottom. But having a good bait is key to having some good amberjack fishing. So you want to bait like some blue runners, ladyfish, porgies, white porgies. And if you can keep them alive, a 3 to 6 pound bonita is an awesome amberjack bait. And those jacks, they want their baits moving. So use a long leader, allowing your bait to have plenty of freedom to roam around. And if you're jig fishing, be sure to give that jig a lot of action. Give it a lot of rod tip, a lot of speed on the winding. And then particularly once you hook up, keep other rods fishing. That hooked amberjack, he gets all the other jacks fired up. You can oftentimes watch them kind of swimming with them as you're bringing them up. So keep fishing while you have one hooked up. And as I said, some big ones are being caught. There's a photo there of Savannah Carlin. She's from Fort Walton Beach, and that is a bruiser of an amberjack. She caught out of fishing out of Destin. That's one that I don't want to mess with at all.
No way.
No, thank you.
She joined the House of Pain in that short few minutes.
Yeah, you can almost feel the pain. And finally, offshore rig, the blackfin tuna have moved in pretty good. Usually we get them late in the winter, but in the fall as well. And this past week or so, they've been really consistently being caught over natural bottom in 80 to 150 feet of water. And some are even being caught off the pier, particularly Oakless Island Pier. And they're all good-sized blackfin tunas in that 20 to 30-pound range. They're catching them on live cigar minnows, herrings, and small blue runners. They're fishing those baits on a 40-pound fluorocarbon leader. And some guys, they're going to use a monofluorocarbon leader, but they attach a stinger hook with wire to the nose hook on the bait. That way, if you get a bite by a king or a wahoo, which are around right now in good numbers, especially the kings, you stand a chance. Slow troll your baits over natural bottom, just like you're king fishing. But keep an eye out for blackfin tunas breaking the surface or some bird action. You may be in a spot where they're just over there in sight. So be aware of that, and also be aware there's a lot of sailfish showing up close. It's that time of year when all kinds of cool stuff is happening. And the last several days, again off the piers, they've been regularly catching some sailfish.
All right, thank you so much, Pat. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Heroes on the Water hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says the mangrove snapper is on any of our inlets. The jetties using small pilchards. Try a 10 to 12-pound fluorocarbon leader, light wire circle hooks for your best result. And then offshore, big amberjacks on the deeper wrecks in 300 feet or more of water. Blue runners for bait with long leaders fished about halfway down in that 300 foot of water.
All right, well, if you're cruising around Florida, do it with a cause and rock the Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate, which is right here. Your $25 goes straight to supporting clean water, restoring habitats, protecting marine life, and teaching folks about our coastal environment. So make sure you get yours at your local DMV or online at redfishtag.com, and you can match Rick and I.
Yeah, you can have a cool tag and support conservation.
Exactly.
Double jeopardy, guys.
Why not?
Come
You gotta
on,
have a
bring
license
it.
plate anyway. Might as well make it pretty.
Yeah.
And for a cause. All right, we made it all over Florida with Bass Galore, and for our last captain, we're bringing in Ridge Murphy in the Black Oak LED Keys region with your weekend report, which included a little bonefish and mahi-mahi. So stay with us. And we'll be right
Bring
back.
it. Ridge is bringing the report.
Mhm.
Come on.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Fenwick, feel everything. Phillips, building the infrastructure that safeguards our future. Castaway Coffee, one taste and you'll be hooked. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy, fishing for adventure. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Taco Marine, master the catch.
Today's Power Pull tip is about the new Power Pull View 4.2-inch touchscreen display. The Power Pull View is sleek, low profile, and controls all your Power Pull products from one device right here on my dash. The first tab is my anchor tab. I can run my Power Pull anchors up and down. I can also adjust my speed setting from fast, medium, and slow. The next tab over is my charge tab. I can see the voltage of all my trolling motor batteries and my engine battery. I can also adjust the priority if I want more power to the trolling or more power to the engine right here from the display. And if my motor won't start, I can even initiate an emergency start. And the last tab is the Power Pull Move screen. We took the Power Pull Move remote and put it right here on a touchscreen, so you're used to all the great controls. But the big thing I like is I can even see the head of the trolling motor right here on the screen. We all know people like to stand in front of the trolling motor while you're fishing, and now I can see the direction that the trolling motor is going. To learn more about the Power Pull View, go to powerpull.com, and that's your Power Pull tip.
Pretty cool, Bree, to be able to see what your trolling motor head, which way the trolling motor is facing, because there's always somebody standing in the way.
Always.
Yeah, always.
Always in the way.
Yeah.
All right, when you think of the Black Oak LED Keys region, you don't necessarily think of bass, but maybe Captain Ridge Murphy can help us find a few. Go for it, Ridge.
You know, when it comes to bass fishing here in the Keys, we don't have very much of it, but here in the Black Oak LED region, we have bass fishing mostly in the northern sections of the region and the canals on the stretch, and the surrounding ponds of the Everglades are full of peacock bass and largemouth bass. There's lots of residential lakes and homestead that hold bass also, and you can fish for these fish with live shiners on a small eagle claw circle hook or an artificials like Bass Assassin RSB, little tapper, curly tail worm, and black, purple, watermelon red or June bug, and etc. Berkeley hard baits will also work, like the Cutter 90 in copper or chartreuse. Bass fishing's a fun way to get out on the water and have a change of pace. It's a good alternative to bad weather fishing and always a fun day for the little ones also. I have 2 photos, one of Elizabeth Johnson with a nice largemouth bass, and another one of my brother Colin with a nice largemouth bass that we caught out of the airboat.
Very nice.
All right, what else you got for us tonight, bub?
In transition of the edges of the flats and in the potholes, the snooks are laying up and staging in the high current areas. Fish a bass assassin paddle tail or bounce a shrimp on the bottom on a jig head for the snooks as you're getting up on the flats and as you're coming off the flats. These fish are ranging from 23 inches to lower slot with the occasional jumbo mixed in. As you're pulling along, look for blowouts, and once you see a few, start slowing down and blind casting in the green holes, looking for stick-like silhouettes with the yellow fins. 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon leader on a Fenwick Elite medium fast and medium heavy rod. And I have a photo of Bill and Tom with a nice sight fish snook that we caught out of Florida Bay on a Bass Assassin 4-inch sea shad.
All right, let's go offshore, bub.
I spoke to Captain Justin Miller off the Real McCoy out of Bud and Mary's, and he says that the mixed bag is still as good as it gets. As you're running offshore, look for floaters that are holding the mahi-mahis. He says that once you pop off the reef, you're in mahi territory from 350 feet of water to 1,500 feet of water. You're going to run and gun looking for birds and floaters, and you control an R&R mahi magnet around the floaters and the debris till you get one on. Then you're going to use live pilchards or cigar minnows, dead ballyhoo or squid once you have a few on. For tackle, 20-pound spinning rods with 40-pound fluorocarbon leader on a 7.0 Eagle Claw Shaughnessy J-hook. I have another photo sent in by Captain Justin Miller with Adam and David with a nice mahi-mahi out of Bud and Mary's.
Nice.
Good one.
All right,
Also,
one to go. Tell me about it.
Yeah, the blackfin tunas on the west hump have been good. If you can get the live bait, go out there and spray pilchards behind the boat. Free line 2 to 3 rods with 20 to 30-pound mono and clear or blue. You can tie straight to an Eagle Claw live bait hook, but you run the risk of them chewing through. If not, you might not get as many bigger fish, but a 40-pound leader is a good insurance policy. You want to drop the baits back behind the boat with little resistance. The captain bumps into the current, and then once you get them on, you want to stay on top of the fish. That way the sharks don't get rid of them for you.
So, Ridge, I do have a question for you, son. You know, you talked a little bit about the tunas and the pilchards and the chumming process, but so many times when we're offshore, what we see happen is that the pilchards, you throw them out and they run right up underneath the boat and school it. What do you do to kind of help offset that from happening?
You know, if you take a decent scoop of pilchards, probably, anywhere from 5 to 15, even sometimes a big scoop, and if you just slap the net, kind of like you're doing a serve for pickleball or something, that would be a good way to kind of get the baits out past the boat, get them away from the motors. Or if you've got some good wax on this Starbright wax, you can skip them across the top of the cowling, and that makes them a little disoriented and gets them to go a little bit away from the boat.
So what you're telling me is you're banging these pilchards off of my 350 cowlings,
That
right?
sounds like your son.
From time to time, yes.
Oh boy,
You gotta do what you
I
gotta
don't believe
do,
I
man.
remember teaching you that deal, bub. But okay, if it works for you, it
He's
works for
teaching
me.
you something now. What
I
are you
love
gonna
you. I
do?
appreciate your good report tonight. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the scientific angler hotspots. Banging the pilchards off of my cowlings. Lovely. Inshore, he says the bonefish on the flats, mudding or tailing throw, bucktail jigs, or a live shrimp, throw it up current, and then slide it carefully past them. And remember, once you get him on, keep that rod tip up so that he can't dig down and cut you off on the bottom. Then offshore, mahi, 750 to 1,100 feet of water. Look for the birds and debris, throwing live cigar minnows or a piece of squid on the spinning rod with an Eagle Claw live bait hook. I have to tell you something. You see where he
Yes.
says minnows here?
Minos, yes.
We always joke around in here, we call them minos. Well, when I was checking his hotspot, he spelled it
Minos.
M-I-N-O's.
Well, he's
Minos.
He is your son, so spelling.
It's like, come on,
not
dude.
100%. All right, let's dive on in and see what tournaments are going on in the Florida Keys. First, we have the Marathon International Bonefish Tournament, where anglers stalk the flats for bonefish and compete for the Grand Slam Award for a same-day catch of bonefish, tarpon, and permit in this long-running annual competition, September 25th through the 28th. Then the annual Take Stock in Children Backcountry Tournament in Key Largo, with anglers fishing around the clock from Friday night, September 26th through Sunday afternoon, September 28th. Next is the Fall Backcountry Fly Championship, where anglers compete October 3rd and 4th in Isla Mirada to catch the most inches of snook and redfish on fly. And finally, ladies gather in Isla Mirada October 17th. Learn fishing skills October 18th. During the full day, Ladies Let's Go Fishing Keys Fishing University, then fish for fun and prizes in the Fishing Fever Tournament on October 19th. For more information on Keys tournaments, go to flakeys.com. But ladies and gents, that does it for this week's Bass Reports. It's clear Florida is still one of the best bass fisheries in the country, and reports may be over, but the action never ends. When we return, we'll reveal what's on the line next week.
What do we got?
Woo! It's painful, I'll tell you that.
It is?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, next week is our season finale, and we are talking amberjack, so make sure to tune in. But we have to show you the Seize the Social for this week, so let's run it real quick. It's a good one.
Windy here today. Oh, yeah, it's not a worm bite. It's not a worm bite, turns out.
Nice.
So we got a nice bass.
It's a giant. So.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yep.
You see it behind him.
What?
Giant!
I mean,
Oh man.
oh my God, that makes me want to cry for him.
That's
He's
what I
so
did.
happy.
This guy, the front guy, had a great fish, and then all of a sudden he gets upstaged by his
No commentary
screaming buddy.
needed.
That's like me in
all.
my backyard.
I hope y'all catch a big bass like that this weekend. We'll see you next week for our season finale. Thanks for our studio audience, and have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.